So we plan on making films about alternative education. And the reason for this is because we have been on a quest to find the best form of schooling for our family. Now, I say the best schooling for our family because it's really hard to find one form of schooling that works for everybody. However, in our explorations, there do seem to be some common traits that make one form of education more universally workable than other forms. One trait we're looking for is low cost. This is kind of a no-brainer if you're looking for a form of education that will work for the most people. The facilities, the supplies, and the faculty. Those are the three primary expenses you're looking at. So the kind of schools that can minimize those costs will be cheaper than other schools. So that's one advantage of public schools. All those things are paid for. However, it is also an advantage of like micro schools. Micro schools are these smaller schools, kind of like one-room schoolhouses. It seriously cuts down the cost of facilities, supplies, and faculty if all you need is like a church basement and one or two adults and internet access. So the internet is making one-room schoolhouses more feasible again. Another expense to consider is location. Even though public school is free, to live nearby a higher quality public school, you need to move into nicer neighborhoods, and nicer neighborhoods equal expense. Whereas like homeschooling, you can live out in the country. You can do it anywhere, right? So low cost. The second trait is how much effort does it take? I'm primarily looking at how much effort on the side of the parents, because let's face it, it's already enough work to be a parent, and to add on more stuff because of school is really too much to ask. That's why most homeschool families, for example, only have one working parent and then one parent who's dedicated to homeschooling. So we'll get to this later, but homeschooling, that's one of the disadvantages, is it's not that easy. But once again, is an advantage of public school because the parents just have to make sure the kids get to school and do their homework. But you also want to consider how hard it is for the kids. We believe in win-win situations. We don't believe that you have to look for either the happiness of the parents or the happiness of the children. I believe you can have both. I believe you need to have both. Like if one is miserable, the other's gonna feel it too. And nowadays, kids are getting more and more stressed and depressed. So what we're looking for is a form of education that leads to healthy and happy children and parents instead of stressed and depressed children and parents. The third trait I'm looking at is how adaptable the system is. Does the system demand that you learn the exact same things at the exact same time in the exact same way? Or is it adaptable to the individual child's needs, interests, and learning abilities? I'm comparing public school and homeschool a lot, but there are several other options we found. I'm just using those two as like yin and yang. But like, this is one of the big failings of public school is its lack of adaptability. All kids the same age are in the same grade, having the same curriculum and the same tests and the same everything, right? So the smart kids get bored. The kids who learn at a different pace or in a different way end up struggling, and it's just not adaptable to individual needs. But that's one of the advantages of homeschooling, is that you can adapt it to each child. But this isn't the only kind of adaptability that's important. It also needs to be adaptable to the changing times, using all the latest tools and technologies that are coming out. Or is it really slow to keep pace and does not welcome change? So it needs to be adaptable in different ways. Another trait that's very important in schooling is how much community does it provide? Now, a lot of people, especially like in homeschooling, ask, how are your kids going to be socialized? I would ask, how are your kids going to be communalized? There seems to be a subtle difference in my mind, and I couldn't quite describe it. So I actually asked ChatGPT, like, what's the difference between something social and something communal? And it had some pretty good insights. Socialization has to do with relationships between individuals. It is social media. It's not communal media. You're just socializing with other individuals. Community, you are actually working with others, possibly even living with others who share a common purpose or goal. There's more commitment. There's more dependence on others. And you can also potentially accomplish a lot more because you support one another and lift each other up towards whatever that common purpose or goal is. They're both important, right? You need to be able to relate well with individuals, but you also need to be able to work well in a group. If I am working at a company and I'm looking to hire someone, I'd love to hire someone who's just fun to talk to and relates well with people. But what I really want is someone who works well as in a group towards a specific goal, can communicate, is dependable, and is very communal. But the reason I say the communal aspect is very important, you feel that importance a lot more when you have a family. People say this all the time, it takes a village to raise a child, right? And it's very, very hard to do it on your own. So that support of a community is very important. And also just kids learning how to work within a community or a group. It's really not hard to socialize kids. We bring our kids to playgrounds and activities, and they talk to people on Roblox, and they just talk to other kids all the time. But the only real communal experience they have is within the family itself. But that's something I would hope to find in like a school setting. And a lot of schools that have like project-based learning have a lot more of this because you do have to work in groups towards a common goal. So we've explored that a little bit too. And the last trait that I want to throw out there is how realistic the form of education is. A lot of schools, and even a lot of like homeschool families, create their own little world, their own little isolated world that has its own rules and its own consequences and its own ways of doing things. When the kids leave that little world and experience the bigger world, they get disillusioned. Like, whoa, all of a sudden, there's all different rules. There's a tweet I saw that I just had to chuckle at. Thank goodness I learned about parallelograms instead of taxes in high school. It's gonna come in so handy this parallelogram season. But anyway, I'm not here to gripe about it. I'm just saying, how realistic is it? So an experiential form of schooling would actually give the kids access to and interaction with the real world in a safe, controlled way. So rather than creating its own little world that the kids live in, the kids would actually be in the world and experiencing the world and even able to take risks and be operators in the real world with adults around as kind of like safari guides. So these are the 5 traits that, as we have explored and as we continue to explore different forms of education, is kind of going to be my rating system. How does it score on cost, on difficulty level, on adaptability, on being communal, on being realistic? If I can find something that is high scoring in all of those areas, that's probably the direction we're going to go, and also has the potential to work for other families as well.